Hello beautiful people, it's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video, and this is still on the Brett Cooper Living Daily Wire. So Candace Owens have shipped in something which is quite interesting because there's been rumors that the CEO of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, has responded and shared some interesting things regarding Brett Cooper living, and the drama or the controversy seems to be pretty interesting. Lots of people have already weighed in on this, and we're going to be checking this to hear what Candace Owens have got to say, and also love your thoughts in the comments below. Let's check it out.
All right. So people that are old and toddlers and women that are over the pregnancy 25-week mark, all savages. I'm telling you, just tell the truth all the time. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm feeling right now. And I want to talk about this Brett Cooper thing because it perturbed me a tiny bit. And I'm going to be very honest to you guys about my investment in this right at the top and just tell you exactly what's gone on in the background, because it's becoming pretty obvious to me that there seems to be a concerted effort to try to sort of destroy Brett Cooper's reputation before she's even begun her new independent venture. So I'll tell you who I was contacted by. Anyways, just a recap. Obviously, it's all over YouTube. It's literally everywhere. It's even now on Joe Rogan. The Brett Cooper saga made its way to Joe Rogan last night. I have a clip of that for you. But we covered this at the end of last year because it was a major announcement. Brett Cooper announced that she was leaving the comment section, leaving the Daily Wire. It was a rather strained video that she gave at the end of last year. Kind of seemed like she was fighting back tears. And I basically gave my assessment. I thought the company, in my view, actually handled it as professionally as it could have plausibly been handled, given the firestorm of internet innuendo that was leading up to that moment. People suggesting that she was being pushed out. People suggesting that there were issues. They were trying to create a clone of Brett Cooper. But it was obvious, as I said to the public, that there was at least some level of drama, which involved her now former best friend and maid of honor in her wedding earlier that year, who had replaced her, a young woman who was formerly her producer named Reagan Conrad. Okay. Brett Cooper stopped following the girl. This is relevant to what I'm going to say in a little bit. She stopped following her. She deleted her across all her socials, plus deleted her from the wedding pictures that she had posted. So there's no debate here. They are not friends, obviously. Okay, fine. Your friendships end. Again, not the biggest deal. So then faster than anyone could have possibly predicted, they just rolled out the new comment section without Brett Cooper. And it seemed like Reagan very much was behaving identical to Brett, and it was not good. The market just rejected the show. And I'm not talking about like, maybe give it some time and we'll warm up to it. I mean, I am talking a firm 90% viewership dip that just seems to get worse every single week. So I'm just showing you really quickly here. These were the views when Brett Cooper was the host of the comment section. You can see she was basically, I would say, averaging 500,000 views, and then she was hitting 1 million views or 2 million views on certain videos. And here are the views today. Here is the snapshot today. So, high end would be 54,000 views is the highest I can see on this screenshot. Low end, 19,000 views. That was posted 16 hours ago. So maybe we're averaging 30,000 views per an episode. Okay. That's a huge dip. As I said, market has responded. The market has answered. The market has said no. And not everything that you put out as a company works out. And that's just the true thing. You take a lot of risk, and sometimes that risk does not pay off. For an example, when I was at the Daily Wire, I was doing these cooking show segments, and people did not like it. I thought my food was good. People did not want to see Candace cooking. They just want to see Candace spilling the tea. They want to see Candace talking about a variety of topics. Fine. We just dumped it. Your job as a CEO when you're leading a company is you pivot, right? So you try something, bring it to the market responds. You either expand it because you got it right, or you shut it down when you get it wrong. More than anything in a leadership position, your role is to simply adapt to the market, okay? Not to blame the market and tell the market that it's wrong, just to simply adapt. So fast forward to this past month, and I start getting some really strange specific calls from journalists. Okay. So first, my PR person is informed at the end of last year, and this is exactly what was told to us, there in January, there's going to be a big puff piece. This leak to us came from the Hollywood Reporter. It was a reporter at the Hollywood Reporter who was speaking about another reporter who was being put on what he described as a puff piece on Ben Shapiro. Why are we getting this phone call? Because Candace, you're going to be included in it. Why am I being included in this? Doesn't make any sense. Whatever. We get a weird phone call asking me questions about Brett Cooper. And I'm just like, I literally want nothing to do with this. Okay. So on January 13th, they ran this article, Hollywood Reporter, how Ben Shapiro conquered the MAGAverse. Okay. All right, Seth Abramovich. Okay. But buried in this article, first, of course, mandatory paragraph, stab at Candace Owens. She's Hitler, Adolf Hitler, second coming of. And then suddenly like a little dig on Brett Cooper, kind of trying to maybe throw a little mud. Now, this came from the Reporter, but he wrote, conservative social media users theorized that Cooper's Israel-Hamas opinions got her fired, but Cooper's camp dismisses this. Now, no one theorized that. If they did, it was such a small pocket of the internet. Maybe you saw a tweet or two. Nobody in that entire explosion of Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire was speaking about Israel and Hamas. Like that's was not the theme on the internet. So I found that to be extraordinarily strange that I was then being asked about her Groyper tweet, Groyper's tweeting about her. I'm like, what do we even, she's a 23-year-old girl. She's got nothing to do with this. And why are you trying to combine us in this piece? It was weird. Okay. Whatever. Let it go. I gave one comment. Like I basically don't know what you're talking about. 4 days later, I get contacted again. 4 days later, I'm contacted by The Spectator. Similar angle, trying to push this idea that Brett Cooper might be anti-Semitic like Candace. Now, it's The Spectator, so we know whoever's leaking this to The Spectator's gossip column is obviously a boomer, okay? Like, she is Gen Z, TikToker, famous, okay? Like, this is not making it in the circles. This is like old school PR. Let's contact my contact at The Spectator and get them to run this about Brett Cooper. And I refused to participate in this because it's just so grimy to me to have a girl whose life is just beginning. She just got married. She's 23 years old. No matter what happened, okay, let her move on in her life. Why are we trying to throw dirt on her name for something that we know is so objectively not true? Here's the title of the article that's just talking about how, like, in your face this was. It was entitled, "What's Going On Between Brett Cooper and Candace Owens?" The answer's nothing. There's nothing. But again, they're just trying to essentially dirty her name, realizing Candace is dealing with the entire ADL attacking her and calling her anti-Semitic. Wouldn't it be great if we just, like, threw a little bit of that on Brett Cooper, too? So before she even starts her show. And what was really strange about it, it was the same exact pattern. So when I left Daily Wire, all of these journalists were writing basically about my Twitter likes. They were like, Candace liked to post saying that Jews drink Christian blood. Obviously, it was not true. I was liking a post that had more in that. And then the person made a joke, "Are you drunk on Christian blood, Rabbi Shmuley?" Like, that's the context. But then all of these accounts start sharing that Candace thinks Jews drink Christian blood. So it was the same thing that was now being done to Brett Cooper. It was hyper-focusing on a like. Because Brett Cooper, who likes all of my posts, because we work together, I like all of her posts. I like all of Matt Walsh's posts. I like Michael. What if it comes across my feed, just like it. And she liked a post, which was a wrap-up, like an annual wrap-up of everything that we did. And in that post, buried in it, was me speaking about my view on Palestine and Israel. So they're taking a like and translating it into Brett Cooper is an anti-Semite, okay? And this is what's in that Spectator article. Look at this. Cooper liking Owens' post raised questions. Does Cooper agree with Owens' take on the war in Gaza? Could this be tied to her departure from the Daily Wire? And does she plan to collaborate with Owens moving forward? And Brett responds, says, I like many of my friends' Instagram posts because we're friends. I'm unsure why liking my friend's end of year post a month ago is international news. But this reporter keeps pushing. He asks whether Cooper's like of Owens' post was a reflection of a change in her stance on Gaza or an act of post-wire solidarity. She again says, when a friend's post comes across my feed, I like them as friends do. So this really gives me the ick. I'm just saying this really gives me the ick. Later on in the article, a moment comes, and again, nobody saw this article, A, because it was behind a paywall. I only saw it because they asked me to participate in it. And I'll tell you what I said to the article, by the way. Like, this is my exact quote. I said, Candace Owens is too pregnant to comment. I'm not getting involved in this. It's petty. It should be beneath everybody. Whoever's orchestrating this from behind, it's ridiculous. But then it moved on to kind of this weird moment where Jeremy gives a comment and he says, a year ago, Brett told me if she were to ever leave the comment section that Reagan should be her replacement. Daily Wire, the CEO of Jeremy Boring, Daily Wire co-CEO Jeremy Boring told Cockburn. 6 months later, Brett said she wanted to leave, and I realized that she was right. Reagan, in addition to being the producer of Comment Section for 2 years, is a huge talent and a great choice to carry on the show. But look at Cooper's response to this. She responds and says, I did not select Reagan. She has two comments that are completely at odds with one another. She is not saying much, but she's disputing what he has said here. And it just sort of dies on the internet because I'm not sharing this article. I don't care about this article. And I think it's weird. I think the timing of this article is weird. Okay. This brings us now to today, or this week rather, is what I should say, and this video that starts circulating. So now you have 4 days later, January 17th, Brett directly disputed Jeremy's narrative in a piece. Nobody saw it. It's behind a paywall, whatever. Gen Z doesn't read this stuff anyways. Fast forward to this week, and you have a moderator on a Twitter community. I didn't even know that you could have a Twitter community. I didn't even know that Twitter had this function. And the community is called Daily Wire Fan Club. And they release this, okay? It is extremely upsetting and distressing that Brett Cooper can't be bothered to defend Reagan Conrad, especially since Brett recommended her as a replacement for the host of the comment section to Jeremy Boring. I only hope Brett eventually releases a statement of some kind to combat the vicious rumors. Now, parking aside, first off, this is very clearly an account that's pretending to be a man. No man starts a tweet with, it's extremely upsetting. You're talking about a 23-year-old girl, okay? If you are the grown adult man that is pictured in that photo, you need to get a life. Extremely upsetting. Oh my gosh. And now I see there's a new narrative that is being launched, which is Brett Cooper is a bad friend. And I'm going, what's happening here? So I watched this video, and apparently I'll give you the context here. Jeremy Boring, the CEO, co-CEO of Daily Wire, released a commentary, and I think it is very fair to categorize it as extraordinarily passive aggressive. Okay. So I'm watching it, and I'm going, is it just me, or does this just seem off? Like, something here is just off. And it turns out the entire internet read it exactly that way. And it's now everywhere, and people are commenting on how off it really is. And so to tee this up, I don't know why he's answering questions. Like, this could be, we used to do this thing, like sort of, you get to ask us questions, but it's usually for the host. But I don't know the context of whether this is an all access live, but somebody asked him a question about mean comments and mean feedback that Reagan Conrad was getting on her show. And, the show is not taking off, sort of a thing. So he answers it, and I'm paraphrasing here by saying, well, actually, he explicitly says Reagan is amazing. And also the comment section was not Brett's. Essentially, we created the show at the Daily Wire. Brett is tremendously talented. He says she's talented. She's great. She made the show her own. But also, it was successful because of our marketing department, essentially. Like, it's not just Brett's, it's ours. And by the way, Reagan produced the show and also helped to write it. Okay. So I'm now going to cut to this YouTuber named The Quartering, who goes through what it is exactly that Jeremy says in this video so that you can just assess. Like, I think honestly, The Quartering, every thought that I had in my brain watching it, he kind of just said it. Here you go. Here's the first thing.
What Reagan hasn't done is taking acting classes to be more like Brett Cooper. That is just completely absurd. And it's hurt my feelings a little bit that Brett hasn't done more to defend her friend.
Whoa. So now, guy worth $100 million with $1 billion company is saying that Brett Cooper hurt his feelings because she hasn't defended Reagan, who is not Jeremy Boring, is not related to Jeremy Boring, has nothing to do with Jeremy. Why is his feelings hurt? He's like trying to guilt her into making some sort of statement promoting her old show, which she has absolutely no obligation to do.
And also, they're not friends. And so the language of making it seem like they are presently friends, and you would therefore be, I know, the whole world knows that they're not friends. So why would you be hurt by someone not promoting a show of their former friend? And also, I'm going to ask the question, can she even speak out about this? Because it certainly doesn't look like it. And, NDAs are industry standard. So that also is another question. Then there kind of gets to this portion where he's speaking about acting classes, and I will just let Quartering take this part away as well.
Reagan's enormously talented. She's been an enormous part of building the comment section for the last 2 years. And I've never sent her to an acting lesson. She's never asked me to send her to an acting lesson. I've never asked her to do anything to be more like Brett. If anything, we've told her to make the show as much your own as you can while maintaining the format. But she is like Brett because they are friends and collaborators, have been collaborators on the show. It's actually ironic because I did send Brett to various kinds of lessons as a
Oh, shade? Uh-oh.
performer, not acting lessons. Brett's a terrific actress and always, the entire time I've known her, she has been, as will be evident when you see the Pendragon cycle. But I did send her to dancing lessons and singing lessons in preparation for her role as Snow White. I sent her to dialogue coaching sessions to help her with her role in the Pendragon cycle. And that's good. That's like,
I feel like this is kind of a backhanded compliment. He's basically saying like, well, I had to do all this stuff for Brett Cooper, but he's like couching it it's like a compliment sandwich. He's saying, oh yeah, she's just so great. Well, I did send her to dancing lessons, vocal lessons, dialogue lessons, this lesson, that lesson.
So real.
But she's fantastic. This is classic passive aggressive compliment sandwich boss talk.
That's how I read it. It just felt very backhanded, and I'm not sure why. I don't know why this is happening right now, why people can't just move on and have an amicable split, or if it's not amicable, just move on. Like, again, she's 23 years old. And once again, in that statement, he says friends. They're friends. That's why they act alike. They are not friends. He knows they're not friends. Everyone knows they're not friends. So what is the purpose of answering a question and saying something? Maybe here, let me be charitable. Maybe he truly is the only person in the world who does not know that the two of these girls had a tremendous falling out that the entire internet reported on due to her taking over the show. Like, maybe he's the only person who does not know that Brett unfollowed Reagan and deleted all. Maybe he's the only guy and he's really just being like, wow, I think they're still friends right now. Maybe that is true. But I don't think that's true. I think he knows they're not friends, and he's saying this in a way that I just can't comprehend what is the actual purpose of this. And it does feel like a backhanded compliment towards a 23-year-old girl. And then he sort of gets into like why the audience doesn't accept Reagan, like why the show is failing. And here's what he had to say.
and the audience, whenever Reagan would guest host the comment section, the audience loved her. The comments were almost universally positive. In fact, many of the things that they're now criticizing her for in the comments were the things that they liked most about her.
Well, that's because she wasn't replacing her then. She was simply filling in.
I do like this guy's like very common sense. Like everyone, yeah, it's a little different. If I'm like, hey, Brett's going to fill in for me. And I was like, oh my God, great. I love to see other friends. And then like afterwards, you're like, just kidding. Brett was pretending to be her friend and she stabbed Candace in the throat. And now she's got her job. Like there's obviously a difference in how the audience is going to receive that. There's an emotional understanding here that I think is perhaps being missed. But now it sort of becomes like the audience fault. And this is how he concludes that thought about the audience suddenly not liking this show anymore.
When they didn't know that Brett was leaving the show. And for that reason, I know that most of these attacks on Reagan are completely unfair. They're completely disingenuous. People aren't really raising these criticisms. They're either helping to craft or buying into a narrative which has been crafted by people who want the Daily Wire to fail and want Reagan to fail in the role. And both will be disappointed because Reagan will not fail in this role. And the Daily Wire will not fail. We continue to grow and we continue to succeed. And business is hard. And you're always going to go through a little bit of downturn in audience after a very popular host leaves a show.
So to me, this is a tremendous lowering of the office of the CEO. It seems like he's engaging in high school drama and theatrics and doing it in a way in which he's trying to throw some tar on Brett Cooper's name, but simultaneously saying to the audience, like, accusing them of wanting to see the Daily Wire fail. It's like, no, they just don't like the show, man. Like it's that easy. They don't like the new host of the show. It doesn't mean nobody's rooting against. I've never even heard or met this girl, Reagan Conrad. I just don't think the audience likes the show. I think they appreciated Brett in that role. And I don't think you can just blame the markets and say, well, you're going to see, like, we are going to be successful. If there seems to be this like underlying anger and upset there that the audience didn't like it. And it's literally, we saw this meme circulating on the internet. It's this meme for the comment section. Jeremy Boring shoots the comment section with Brett Cooper, then turns around and goes, how could Brett Cooper do this? How could she do this to us? It's okay, totally fine. And if you think, or if you constantly see yourself as like the victim of this, as opposed to just taking it on the chin and saying, they don't like this, let me create something else, it's not going to change. You know what I mean? It's not going to change. And the comments section pertaining to Jeremy's comments on the comment section reveal that. These are just, by the way, the top posts in order under the quarterings video. This is not interrupted whatsoever. So the guy who made her sign an NDA wants her to speak about something she probably isn't even allowed to speak about. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's not entrapment or anything like that. These people are vile. Are they trying to destroy their company and credibility? Because that's what it looks like. Next person. None of that explains why Brett unfollowed Reagan and Jeremy on all social media and why she deleted the maid of honor photos. Like, no one's being fooled by this. He's upset that the comment section was a cash cow with Brett and he didn't realize how much value she was actually worth. The only reason the DW didn't start an entirely new channel for Reagan was that they didn't want to throw away the 4.7 million subs and start over. It was purely out of greed and a numbers decision, in my opinion. I think Jeremy is confusing his feelings with his wallet, since Reagan barely draws 10% of the views that Brett did. A good CEO doesn't go around talking about his feelings. Why does he publicly call out Brett? Can he not just call her up and explain the problem and ask her to say something? This attempt at public shaming to force her is disgusting. Jeremy Boring 100% tells his employees that we're a family here right before he throws them under the bus that Ben is driving. The fact that Brett hasn't said anything and that she unfollowed Reagan on social media along with everything else tells me that there were definitely hurt feelings. Last three here. When you quit a job, it's not your job to get involved in the former employer's issues. That's correct. Jeremy Boring once again attacking ex-staff while holding them to strict NDAs. It shows you who he is. Lastly, the DW did Reagan a disservice by trying to insert her into Brett's show instead of launching Reagan's own show. And I really think that if they had paid attention to the comments and what people were saying as all this was going on, as opposed to just thinking that, well, you could just do this and replace, they wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. But it's just, like I said, tremendously unfair, ridiculous to assume that people are rooting against you or anybody's coordinating. I don't know the quartering. Joe Rogan is speaking about this yesterday with Warren Smith, like the guy who got fired for being sensible about the trans issue. He's been on the Daily Wire. He's following this saga and telling Joe Rogan about it. And they're questioning like the business decisions at the Daily Wire. It's not, there's no conspiracy here. This is a big thing that happened. People have a right to respond to it. People have a right to be concerned about it. And if you're going to carry on blaming other people and especially blaming a 23-year-old girl, it's not going to be a good look, and to whoever it is that's behind the scenes trying to orchestrate these pieces about Brett. It's nasty business. She's a young girl. You got to be able to break up sometimes and not have drama. And I'm not implying that that's Daily Wire. I'm telling you exactly who I got contacted by, Hollywood Reporter and The Spectator. I'm just saying that whoever is doing it, it's dirty business and it's not helping the businesses that you think that you're helping. It's certainly not helping Reagan's show by trying to throw mud on Brett Cooper, who hasn't even come back out yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that said, we will include a link to Brett Cooper's new YouTube channel under this episode because I want to support her, because I resent that she's going through this. I really do resent that she's going through this as such a young girl, and she's so great and she's so kind and she's so classy and she has handled this in the best possible way. Certainly not in a way that I would handle it at 25 plus weeks pregnant. So we will leave it at that.
First of all, I've got a few questions. Why would the CEO get involved when two employees or an ex-employee and a current employee, they are practically like they aren't friends? Obviously, something happened behind the scenes, but the fact that you want to get involved and you expect your ex-employee to respond to whatever backlash your current employee is having does not make sense. Secondly, if they really want the show to be successful, with the new host, they could have created a new show where she shares and make her voice and all that. They can also maybe replicate something like that, but a new show is common sense. But again, it goes up to tell you that numbers and all that comes to play. But again, if the public is responding differently, it is not someone else's fault. Maybe the company really needs to take a step back and understand, okay, what is going on? How would they respond positively to the audience? Because obviously, at the end of the day, you have a show. It is the audience job. I mean, if the audience don't watch, you're not getting paid. It's that simple. But the fact that you want to force the audience to like the show, or you want to force it down their throat to like the show and to like the host, is what is not making sense. All of this back and forth is completely unnecessary. Brett may have moved on, so should the company move on. I don't think it's that hard to understand, but let me know what you think.